Hey everyone, and welcome to Backseat Sports. I'm Josh, that is Caleb, and today we are predicting a wild matchup between Nebraska and Illinois, the Cinderella Illinois team who's making this run inside the top 25 right now on a 5-game winning streak, and it's a huge game in Memorial Stadium for both teams here, potentially giving Illinois a chance at a Big Ten championship, in Nebraska keeping our hopes alive in a bowl game and, the redemption arc for this team after the firing of Scott Frost. We have a lot to talk about today, obviously. Caleb, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. We won the bye week this week. Malachi Coleman, our top recruit in the state, signed for Nebraska. So very exciting. Feels nice to win the bye week. Iowa finally, after 5 years, played Ohio State. They played them, like once in 5 years. We played them 4 times. Glad to see what happens to us every year, or pretty much anybody that plays Ohio State. They're just getting curb stomped. It was wonderful.
There. Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. It was like
pick the first play.
What are you going to do? I mean, it's going to happen, But obviously, like I said, this is going to be a wild game. So we're going to be starting this video talking about Illinois on offense, breaking down the strengths and weaknesses, then onto the defensive side, then into X factors and predictions. So it's going to be a wild ride. So on the offensive side of the ball, obviously Illinois is heading into this game as like a top 20 type team. They're 6-1 overall, 3-1 in the Big Ten, 5-0 at home. And they're on a 5-game winning streak. So their Big Ten results so far, obviously, they started off the year with that really close loss to Indiana at Indiana, but now they've done what Nebraska's dreamed of the past, decade, is to beat Wisconsin, Iowa, and Minnesota back to back right here. So they're rocking and rolling in the Big Ten right now, feeling really, really good.
It's crazy that Brett Bielema in the second year has already done this. It's wild.
Dude,
and it does make sense, a lot of Big Ten experience. He's essentially turned Illinois into Wisconsin. It's crazy. They just flip-flop. They look exactly like the other team.
Yeah, Bielema's now 9-0 against Minnesota in his career. PJ Fleck's only 3-3 against Illinois. To say the least. Obviously last year was impressive, but the question was could they really keep it up? And would you see that trajectory of improvement? And it's far exceeded all expectations so far. And this team looks like a solid, well-rounded team and a true Big Ten team with a lot of the same veins as old Wisconsin teams.
It's wild. PFF ranks Illinois 9th in the country right now.
What?
Nebraska, we're sitting at 74th. So, according to PFF, just wild.
But yeah, unfortunately, we're recording before the line actually comes out, so we don't have the line in front of us right now. But ESPN gives us about a 31.7% chance at a win for Nebraska, which feels about right playing against a top 20 type team like Illinois. But realistically, the line's probably going to be somewhere in that 10 plus, similar to Purdue range with a type of line. Of course, this game is in Lincoln, which plays to our advantage, but we'll definitely get into that here in a second. So on the offensive side for Illinois, it's a really interesting offense and a well-balanced offense. Overall, what are your first thoughts kind of on this team and how they execute offensively?
Yeah, I guess the real shock this year has been Tommy DeVito for me. He's had a 70.4% completion rate. He's got 1,415 yards, 10 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He's just a very, very solid Big Ten quarterback. He dishes the ball out well, gets it really nice timing. And again, just not too many mistakes, which is, again, something that really Illinois needs with, only Chase Brown. And, but there is actually some wide receiver weapons. They're just pretty good at distributing the ball. You don't know where it's going to go. Yeah. And what comes to mind is the Wisconsin game, just how good Tommy DeVito can be. He just played just a great game. Again, just really no turnovers, some bad snaps, handled it well, got the ball out. At 70.4% completion, this can create some problems for Nebraska.
He definitely just plays really fast. He's very aware. And I loved his footwork in the pocket and his ability to climb the pocket. He's very comfortable. He reacts quickly, climbs the pocket, and he'll just scramble out for a few yards or get a first down on 2nd and 4. Things like that where he's really dangerous. And of course, you have to respect the run game. And so he's definitely taken advantage of it with play action. And he's been doing exactly what Bielema needs him to do offensively and legitimately fantastic so far this season. I agree with you. He's really, really impressive. I'm sure he's going to have plenty of opportunities to look good in this game too. So, on the offensive side as a whole for them, they have a really interesting creative mix of formations and executions and how they draw things up. They're a really creative team. overall. And like, obviously they like using Chase Brown with like these little quick pitch plays from shotgun or screens to get the ball outside quickly. They make it easy on Tommy DeVito. They don't ask him to do too much. Rarely is he like extending the play and zipping it downfield like 40 yards. Like, he just makes the simple plays and it moves the ball, and it's an efficient offense overall. So like, and they also get really creative. I mean, we saw some like hook and ladders. Like, they ran the option to pick up some first downs, and like they're running like some really nice like play action wheel routes versus Minnesota as well. So overall, like, I really like how they build their offense.
You know, same with being creative too. Isaiah Williams, they're one of their wide receivers, who's a quarterback turned wide receiver. Saw some plays with him too, where, you know, they pitch it to him, and well, now he's the quarterback too. So
yeah,
on jet sweeps and stuff like that. So that's definitely something to be aware of. And yeah, they do just do a really good job of sprinkling in those plays. That, again, because their offense, it'd be kind of vanilla otherwise. With, you know, they have some solid wide receiver talent, but like no high end guys.
And we all know what they want to do at the end of the day. You know,
yeah, and that's just run the ball with Chase Brown. My goodness. 192 carries already this season.
He had 41 against Minnesota. 41?
That's insane. That is.
They are trying to murder him.
Yeah, I know. It's insane how many carries. I mean, if it works, it works. But man, I mean, you gotta turn down the usage at some point. I mean, just carrying the team on his back. He already has 1,000 yards, 1059, and actually only 4 touchdowns, which is kind of surprising. Although he also has the receiving touchdowns as well. But yeah, I mean, man, 190.
I mean, the NFL record for carries in a season is Larry Johnson with 416. That's only averaging 26 a game. Like, that is how many carries 41 is. Like, oh my goodness, insane. But I mean, like, obviously Chase Brown is unbelievably talented, and like, he jumps off the page immediately.
Yeah, he's fast. He looks faster from what I saw in the film too. Obviously, he was really good and shifty and a pretty strong back, but that breakaway speed looked different this year. I mean, he can just get away from defenders.
Fun fact for you, the most rushing attempts in an NFL game, 45. Like, he nearly broke the NFL record for most carries in a game against Minnesota. That is crazy. Obviously, it's NFL, but like, still insane.
If he hits the hole, like, and there, I mean, we saw linebackers just get torched. Like, you think that there's a gap, or like there's no gap, nowhere for him to go, and he's just through. It's gonna be a fun day for our linebackers in Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean, like you said, the receiving core, they actually have some like respectable weapons too. Yeah. I mean, like you said, Isaiah Williams, former 5-star, just incredible athlete, obviously insanely shifty, and we've experienced that over the last few years as well with how good he can be and dangerous he can be. Interesting additions here are Pat Bryant and Brian Hightower as 2 guys who are like legit playmakers for them outside.
Yeah, Pat Bryant leads the team with 371 receiving yards this season and has looked really solid. And then Brian Hightower, he's a big body, and
he's a man.
A couple of those games, he really did take over in those third downs. Just like watching again when they really needed to score points. I think like against Iowa, like he had some great catches, and you know that's not an easy secondary to do it on. So he's gonna create problems and create a mismatch wherever he is on the field, and I expect them to target him in the third down situations.
Yeah, I mean, he's listed at 6'3", 215, and you can definitely see that size on the field. Like, he's an impressive player, and they like fading it up to him in the end zone and making some plays. And like in the Indiana game, he nearly had like which I thought was a touchdown, like an insane touchdown in the corner, which they ended up not calling one, which I think totally was. But regardless, yeah, like you said, it's a worthy offense, and like offensive line wise as well. Like, it's just a O-line that is efficient and effective and like well rated, balanced on pass blocking and run blocking. And like from a statistical perspective, like there's nothing that unbelievable. Like, you know, from College Football Outsiders, they have him ranked around 50th O-line overall, but like PFF likes him even a little bit more than that. So
yeah, 40 in pass block, 25 in run block. And I'm guessing, you know, those run block stats, like, again, that's very solid and not surprising at all for Brett. And it does scare me that he is back in the Big Ten again with a good running back. We saw it last year, him destroy us. And now that their team is a little bit more rounded out and it's not just Chase Brown this year, and they figured out some things in the passing game too. I mean, it's not high octane.
That's the reason why it's just going to be in the top 25. Well, I mean, like even like in the O-line, like again, just pass blocking. There's a lot of times where DeVito has all day. I mean, like against Minnesota didn't register a single hurry in the game. And so it's just like they just do a really good job. And so there's not like an obvious weakness on the offense, but outside of Chase Brown, they don't have like an unbelievably explosive playmaker. Like obviously Isaiah Williams is good, but like again, they don't even like statistically, they don't stand out as well. Like, you know, they're 89th in yards per play or 103rd in yards per attempt passing, or in the red zone is probably where they've had the most struggles. Like right now they're a 96th in red zone scoring percentage at only 76.67%. And they even haven't been great on third downs either. And they're only 75th or 78th in points per game. So like overall on the board, like it's not like an unbelievable offense, but they're very efficient. And when they have the lead, they can just grind you out with running the ball with Chase Brown.
Yeah, they'll just burn that clock. And that's, again, just a Wisconsin Brett Bielema MO.
Yeah.
And the problem is their offense is not the best part of their game. It is been their defense this year, which is just, again, they've been incredible. They are first in points per game allowed at 10.3 in the country. They are first in yards per game with only allowing 238. And then they're first in yards per play, only allowing 3.8 yards per play. They're fourth in third down conversion with 27.6%.
Yeah,
they're
insane.
first in opponent completion percentage in 44.62, and then they're fourth in interception percentage with 5.13% of the time they're getting a pick. Like these stats are just, and like it keeps going.
Yeah,
they're 16th in sack percentage at 8.45%, and they're fourth in takeaways at 2.3%. Like that is so many good stats on defense. So, I mean, on paper, it's been really impressive.
It jumps off immediately. And it's definitely, they have a handful of just really talented, effective options to put pressure on your offense. I mean, Jerzon Newton is the first guy that immediately jumps off the page as a guy who's just a playmaker and just a beast up front. Like he's currently the third highest graded D lineman in the country on PFF, but he has 35 pressures this year, and he is all over the field.
Yeah, I mean, he just is such a disruptor in the middle of that defensive line. Again, good at rushing the QB, good at tackling. He laid some big hits, some great tackles for loss. He is going to be a problem for our interior linemen on Saturday.
He's just physical too. Like he's just really impressive. I mean, right now the hype hasn't been there yet for him, like in an NFL perspective, but I think it will be as the season keeps going along because I mean, he just looks amazing. He's a true junior, so he could potentially stick around for another year if they wanted to as well. So that's just wild in itself. I mean, another guy up front is Gabe Jacobs, who is a true freshman defensive end with 4 sacks, 8 hurries through 7 games. He's their leading sacker on the team. Like, where's Bielema finding these guys? What's happening here?
He just turns them into gold. You know, he doesn't recruit well, but man, can he develop?
Apparently.
Kendall Smith has 4 interceptions. He was a wide receiver, and now he's a safety. So, again, just making changes to try and fit where they fit best. And, again, Bielema's just working well with what he's got right now.
And he's made some really athletic interceptions. He has 4 of them on the season, too. And, there was one in the Minnesota game where he just reacts well and gets there, and he has a lot of speed. So, it's really impressive.
Their big dog on the other side, in the secondary, Devon Witherspoon. 11 pass breakups and is the highest rated cornerback in the country on PFF.
Yeah.
And a big reason why, again, like they allow so few passing yards. He's been really impressive.
Yeah. I mean, he also hits really hard and like he likes to get up near the line of scrimmage and make plays too. Like if any of you remember in the Indiana game, he's the one that like basically decapitated the guy behind the line of scrimmage. It was insane. Like one of the biggest hits I've ever seen.
Yes.
So he's really impressive. And like right now I've seen a few mock drafts where he's like in like the 2nd round or somewhere in there. So he should be going to the league at some point. And just a really impressive player. It's interesting because like, even though they have so many good things going for them, like teams have had some success. It just hasn't come consistently, like with throughout like which players are the ones making it happen. And that's why like so few teams have put up points against Illinois.
Yeah, and I'd say, you know, in the Big Ten West, there hasn't been like the most prolific of offenses. And again, they've had problems themselves somewhat scoring if there's no mistakes. And, the best wide receiver that they've probably seen this year is Chimere Dike from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And he had 5 catches for 76 yards. And then Cam Camper, again, in the Indiana game where they lost, he had 11 catches for 156 yards. So, I mean, that bodes well for us if we can have somebody that could, get that many yards.
For sure.
And then Iowa's Laporta, he had 9 catches for 101 yards. And they got burnt sometimes by him, which, again, is not surprising. He might be their best pass catcher that they've seen this year.
Yeah, they've just been really good at turning teams into one-dimensional offenses in the games they've played. Like, their probably most impressive win was against Wisconsin. And, I mean...
ate up the run.
Yeah, I mean, the thing was, though, in that game was, like, Wisconsin just gave them the ball. Like, I think Wisconsin had 3 turnovers in that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just Wisconsin was just handing them the ball. And so it wasn't, like, as obvious that, like... Illinois was dominating in the sense, but like that, the turnovers were truly a difference in that game. So it's just been a weird season for Illinois. Like you said, I mean, like even against Minnesota, I mean, Tanner Morgan got hurt in the fourth quarter, at the beginning of the fourth quarter. To be fair, Illinois was already winning that game by 10 points or so at that point. But then like the backup comes in and throws 2 picks. And you're like,
puts the game out. Yeah, way out of the way.
It's like, it's hard to get a full read on how good Illinois actually is.
Yeah, and again, Minnesota was hurting too with no Ottman Bell, and I can't remember if Mo Ibrahim was in that game or not. So
yeah, he was back for that game.
Okay,
but Ibrahim actually had a decent amount of yards in that game. I think he had like 100 and something, like 127, 15 carries for 127.
That's right. He had a couple really big runs.
He had some
against
big ones.
Them.
Yeah,
that's right. No,
he had a 44-yarder.
Yeah, that was a great. He like cut back. That's a classic Minnesota zone
but like
blocking.
Morgan up until the fourth quarter only had 21 yards passing. And Tanner Morgan was 4 for 12 in the game up until that point. But like that's the thing with Minnesota right now is like,
weren't getting open.
The receiving core without Ottman Bell is just awful, and so it's hard to exactly judge how good Illinois' defense actually is. And then you, of course, the other teams that played is Iowa, which I mean, my goodness,
the worst offense of the country.
And that was a game with 9-6.
Stats.
Yeah,
that helps
exactly.
The stats.
And so then it's like, and then Indiana, which is a debate, is like, at least we played him, and like we know that Bazelak, when he catches fire, is good.
It's
solid, he did in that game, was hitting him downfield, and boom, there you go, they lose. So it's like, I do think there's some narratives where you could argue that like there's opportunity for Nebraska in this game, but it is fascinating. So the only other thing there with Illinois is that their special teams, their kicker is actually like really respectable, and he's been great this season. And that was definitely on display these last few weeks in the Big Ten, just nailing kicks. It is fascinating. Yeah. So let's move on to the X factors then and kind of talk about what you're looking at here. I mean, the first one I think is pretty obvious. It's the number 1 graded receiver in the country, Trey Palmer, versus the number 1 graded cornerback in the country in Devon Witherspoon.
Man, what an exciting matchup that we have this weekend. Just a game within a game. I cannot wait to watch this matchup. And you know what? I mean, we know that Trey Palmer he's going to win the matchup. I mean, come on, let's be honest. So that's going to be a ton of fun. I think both will have their moments, and it'll be fun to see. I don't think Illinois just covers the top guy with Witherspoon all the time. So it's not like they're always going to be on each other, but when they are, I mean, it's going to be hopefully some fireworks and just a great time. And I trust Palmer. So.
Teams have had some success throwing downfield. I mean, even Iowa had success. And so it's like, I don't think it's impossible for us to have some big time plays in this game. And if anything, we've realized that our team is basically built around big time plays at this point, which is kind of what Mark Whipple's system is, the vertical passing game from the pistol. I like Palmer's odds just considering like how good he's been and obviously the connection that him and Casey have. But I think the X factor there would be like, the safeties over the top have been nice. And if anything, what I noticed at least was that they've been getting beat from the slot almost more than they have been getting beat outside. So that is something to watch.
Yeah, that's a good point. Illinois does play it pretty safe with the safeties playing back. They definitely don't want you to beat. They don't want to be beat over the top, and that's even against not as good passing games. So they really do want to keep everything in front of them. So I definitely agree with you that the slot has killed them a little bit more. And I think that leaves us into the other thing with Vokalek. I think that mid-range passing game, hopefully he, after this bye week, has gotten more healthy. Because, he looked great those first few weeks. And if he's fully loaded and ready to go for this next week, him plus Palmer, I think, is a big X factor in this game. And I think that he could easily eat and have like a 100-yard game. Again, their linebackers, while pretty good in run stop, I think in the passing game that there's some opportunity for Vokalek.
I think that might be the best argument. He looked incredible against Northwestern, and he gets hurt in the second game, and then he comes back in the Oklahoma game. He's dinged up a little bit, and it hasn't been the same since. And I think he's been getting better and better and more involved. And so hopefully this is the game where we start seeing the breakout.
Yeah. Oh man, that would be very exciting. And then offensive line versus third down pressure on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Again, Illinois, if they can, again, they haven't been great on third down. If we're starting to send the pressure, again, Garrett Nelson, O'Shawn Mathis definitely need to show up in this game. We've said it every week, and it's hit or miss. And again, to win these games, to win in the Big Ten, we have to make these quarterbacks uncomfortable. Again, with how accurate Danny DeVito is, if we just let him get comfortable sitting back in the pocket, again, it'll just be like Aiden O'Connell in the fourth quarter. If you let these guys get hot, they will beat you. Even like Connor Bazelak, same thing. Like if you get them comfortable in the pocket, the game slows down. It's easy for them. They're not really too worried about getting hit, and it's game over. Night.
Yeah, I mean, again, we talked about this last week, but out of 149 quarterbacks in FBS, Casey Thompson, when blitzed, is graded 141st.
In defense, when he's blitzed, somebody's getting through clean and free, and he has no time. So I mean, it goes both ways.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I mean, in the exact opposite situation, DeVito right now is ranked 15th in the country when blitzed. So like, we've got to find ways to give Casey some outlets, some ways to beat these blitz. I feel like I've been talking about this every single week, but it's just something that Whipple does not do well and doesn't feel like he likes to do. Is he'd rather just take those shots and take the Hail Marys every so often than the easy dump offs and screens and simple stuff to get Casey in rhythm. So
yeah, I feel like
I really hope we can start seeing more of that because we need to. Yeah.
Again, if we give Anthony Grant, if you can just dump it off to him, it's 2 yards, and then he can make it 5, 8, 10, a touchdown. So that's just a great thing. Again, Trey Palmer, Marcus Washington, Alante Brown even. Those guys are great after the catch. I got being elusive, making guys miss, yards after contact. Those are all great things that we have. So, again, there is no shame in the dump-off quick pass because, and again, Vokalek too. All those guys are great at that and are athletic after the catch. And I couldn't agree with you more. We need to see more of it.
I mean, the other thing to consider is right now Illinois is 5-0 at home, but 1-1 on the road with that loss to Indiana. That is something to consider, at least. Now playing in Memorial Stadium, a big time game. Obviously, Nebraska is going to be hyped for this one. So with a top 25 team rolling into town, so it is going to be interesting, I think, to say the least. So
I think if Wisconsin, that was their road win. But man, like we said, Wisconsin had plenty of chance to win that game. If they just turnover after turnover after turnover, you'll lose every game like that by any team. It doesn't matter what level it is. If you turn over the ball a bunch, especially in bad spots, you're going to lose.
Yeah, I mean, I think defensively, the only X factor that I'm really looking on is you've got to play fundamental defense here and stay at home again because they like to run these reversals and these misdirections, and that's why their offense is so dynamic in that sense. Is they like throwing different formations at you and getting the ball outside with Chase Brown or with screens. So there's a lot of pressure here on the linebacking play, and we don't have an official update yet on Luke Reimer, but we assume he's going to be out there for this game. And if he's not, then I'm going to be really worried. But we need Reimer in this game to be back and healthy. And
we're going to need Nick for being out the rest of the season too.
Yeah. So it's going to be tough. I mean, there's just not an obvious answer defensively for the strengths of Illinois. And that's why it's hard to see this not being a fairly high scoring game. So let's head into predictions. What are your thoughts on this game? Where are you at? Who's going to be exposing what in this game?
Man, I think that we can make adjustments on the run game this week. That is the biggest
stop
thing.
The run game?
I mean, at least slow down Chase Brown. We can't afford, obviously, 250 yards. And,
it could happen.
If he gets these, I mean, it could definitely happen. I'm definitely concerned about it.
Yeah.
Just power right, power left. I mean, we all have had the nightmares of what Brett's done to us in the past with good running backs in the Big Ten. I think we can win this game, but to do that, again, it's not a lot of turnovers, and some big plays. And again, our defense has to show up. We cannot be allowing 43 points like we did, against Indiana. We got to like half that. And again, they haven't scored a ton of points. We're going to have to create a couple turnovers, and we're going to have to somehow stop Chase Brown. I'll let Tommy DeVito beat us, but we can't let Chase Brown beat us. And that's how I win this game. And again, I think our offense, I think that we'll scheme well. I think that we're going to take advantage of those opportunities with Vokalek. I think Trey Palmer, yes, he has a big touchdown and a few big plays because he's that guy. But yeah. I think we win this game, even though we shouldn't. I'm picking with my heart. And I think we get our first top 25 win in way too long. Again, it's been
the hype around Mickey. If we won this game, would be next level. It'd be insane.
I think we can do it at Memorial Stadium.
So you're saying like, what's your best narrative for our offensive success then? It's got to be Trey Palmer then, or maybe Vokalek's healthy, but like it's basically the best argument you have. Versus,
it's the second. We're beating them by their secondary. I don't think we're beating them off the run. Again, they're a really good run stop team. It's going to be Grant on small catches more than it is going to be on runs or those toss plays to the outside. That's going to be how we're going to beat them. Giving Grant a lot of field to work with. Again, like angle routes with him, that's how he's going to get involved instead of, just up. Yeah. I mean, up the middle is going to be tough sledding for Nebraska. I know we'll do it sometimes to keep him honest, but yeah, it's going to be Vokalek and Trey Palmer. And then, Marcus Washington and them getting involved because that's what it's going to have to be. It's going to have to be through the air. And I think because we have such a good quarterback in Casey Thompson, and we have such great wide receivers and weapons, and hopefully Vokalek's back healthy, I think it'll be enough.
I mean, like I mentioned before, I think your best narrative would be that Illinois hasn't, like, we might be the best offense that they face, which is sad.
Definitely.
Us or Wisconsin or Indiana, probably, especially considering the injuries to Tanner Morgan in the Minnesota game. I do like the idea that, Iowa, even Iowa, like in that game, I think Petrus had like 170 yards. That's a career day for him. That's like 2 games. That's like 2-3 games. That's like 3 games worth of passing yards. Yeah. I will say, like, the other X factor that I kind of mentioned earlier was like the slot receiver. I think it's going to take a huge game from someone to step up from the slot receiver role, whether it's like Alante Brown or, whoever it ends up being there. There is going to be some opportunities, I think, downfield from the slot specifically, straight up the middle, maybe like in deep posts, splitting the safeties, stuff like that, which I think it could be where we have some success. I think that's our best chance to win the game, is some big time plays downfield like that, assuming that Casey can have any amount of time to throw the ball.
That is the worry.
Yeah, I think our best chances will come off play action on first or second down. Realistically, getting into like 3rd and 6 or higher, anything 3rd and long in this game is going to be a real problem because they're going to be sending the house. Yeah. So with that said, I'm just really worried about this defense. As much as I feel like the offense could keep us in this game, especially with the big time plays, very similar to Purdue. But we saw what Maccabee did against us, and Chase Brown is just way better. And so it's like, realistically, I think Chase Brown could have 180 plus rushing yards in this game.
Devin Maccabee can.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to pick Illinois to win 34-27 based off of the success that they're going to have on the ground against us. And overall, again, DeVito's just significant, just speed, decision making, and timing is just really impressive. And it's a recipe for disaster against us. We saw what Aiden O'Connell could do when he was in rhythm and had good timing. And I just don't see a world where we're going to be able to get to the quarterback in a game like this if we couldn't do it against anyone else this season for the most part. So, yeah, I'll take us in a 7 or so point loss here.
That's probably the smarter thing.
No. I would probably take Nebraska in the points, assuming the line is sub 11 or so. And in that case, I'll take Nebraska in the points. But it is going to be really interesting. And like you said, I do think there's a narrative where we win this game, but
there's a chance.
I just don't trust the defense.
Yeah, I'm glad this one's at home. I think we have a chance.
For sure. Maybe if that's the difference between 1 or 2 turnovers and, we can rally a little bit at home. Starts. Maybe that's the Mickey magic we need, man. Because in that case, who knows? Dude, I will be hyped to talk about this game if we end up winning it. It will be insane.
Well, as always, guys, we want to hear what you guys have to say. Let us know in the comments. We're excited for this game. We're back after the bye week. No more bye weeks. 5 straight weeks of football to end out the season. As always, guys, I'm Caleb. That's Josh. This has been Backseat Sports, and we'll see you next video.
Go Big Red.